For this project, I'm going to show you how to make a paper weaving. If you're in second grade, you've done this project before, you'll need 2 pieces of paper that are different colors. If you don't have different colored paper, you could take some white paper and paint it or color it different colors. That's another way to get some different paper. You'll need a pencil, a glue stick, some scissors, and a ruler. So the first thing you're going to do is create your loom. The loom is the structure that we weave on. So to create a loom, I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to fold it like a hamburger. The hamburger is different than the hot dog. The hot dog is long and skinny. And what I'm looking for is a thicker piece of paper, wider. So we call that a hot dog. So when I fold, I like to line the corners up, hold that with one hand, kind of slide my hand down, and just gently rub. So without moving my paper, I'm going to leave this open part at the top. The folded part is going to be at the bottom, and I'm going to line up my ruler with the open part of my paper. It's important that you line this up in the right spot so that your loom will work properly. Using my pencil, I'm going to draw my line underneath my ruler. So I should have about an inch wide gap where my paper opens up. For the next step, I'm going to place my ruler against the edge of my paper. It's going to be going perpendicular or opposite of my first line. And I'm just going to follow this all the way across as I create a series of lines. I'll pick up my ruler, move it over, and continue drawing my lines across my page. So I'm not going all the way to the top of my paper to draw this. I'm starting at my line. In class, I call this the name line because this is where we usually write our name, if that helps you. So depending on how wide your ruler is, you're going to have about 7 or 8 lines here. And the next step is to start at the fold and cut your lines until you get to the name line. You're going to stop when you get to the name line. And when you open this up, you're going to find your loom is complete. And it will be held together by the gap at the top and the bottom, and you'll just have a series of cuts in your paper for you to weave through. The next thing I'm going to do is get my second piece of paper, my contrasting color, and I'm going to use my ruler to mark out some lines to cut some paper strips for my weaving. So I like to do this so that my papers will line up, so I can see that my loom and my second piece of paper are lining up. If I turn it this way, my loom and my paper are not lining up anymore, and this paper's a little bit long. You can cut it this way, but I find it a little bit easier to make sure that these are lined up. Then I'm just going to take my ruler, and again I'm going to mark out a series of lines across my page. You might not need the entire piece of paper. When we do this in class, sometimes I just have you mark out half of your page so that you can go back later and finish if you need to, or you can mark out the whole paper if you'd like. The next thing you're going to do is cut this into strips. And I usually start with 2 strips. You can always go back and cut more when you're ready. And I'm going to show you the basic process for weaving. So when we do weaving, we try to create a checkerboard pattern. And to do that, we just do an under and over pattern. Under, over. So when I start, I'm going to hold my strip in my right hand. I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, you might start on the other side. And I'm going to start by putting my red strip under my yellow, over the next one. I'm going to pick this up with my other hand and slide that under, over. Helps to use both hands when you're doing this. One to kind of hold your strip and one to push up on your loom. Under, over, and under. Now I always want to slide this all the way up until it touches that top part where my cut stopped. And you'll see I've got a over-under pattern. So I went under, over, under, over, under, over, under. With my next strip, I want to alternate how I start this. So instead of starting under and over, because then I slide up and I don't really have my checkerboard pattern that I'm looking for, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to start by going over my first yellow strip and then under. When I slide this up, it gets stuck and I can start to see my checkerboard pattern forming. So I'm going to continue on. I went under, over, under, over, under, over. Now you want to make sure that you're always sliding this up so that it's nice and tight up against the top. Now I'm ready to cut off another strip of my red paper and do my next row. Again, I want to do the opposite of what I did before. So I can check this. If it slides up, I know I need to start with a different method. So instead of going over, I'm going to go under and then over. Slide that up, and you can see I'm starting to get my checkerboard pattern. So over, under, over, under, over, and under. Slide it up, push it tight, and you're on your way. After I've completed weaving all of my paper strips, I'm going to get a glue stick or a glue bottle, whatever you have, and I want to make sure I've glued down the edges of my paper weaving. So I'm going to start working on each side separately. I'll start with this side right here. What I want to do is lift up, put a little glue underneath, and rub that down. I'm going to work my way all the way down, lifting up, rubbing down, lifting up, rubbing down. I'll turn my paper weaving around. Make sure that everything's lined up and repeat the process. I'm going to lift up, glue, rub down, lift up, glue, rub down. Now I'd like to repeat that process on the other side so that my paper weaving stays together. So I'm going to flip it over, and you can see I need to do the other side as well with my glue stick. Paper weaving can take a little bit longer than some of the other projects that we're doing. So I've given you the whole art week to work on this. Once you get it all glued down, you can start thinking about how you might want to decorate this. My suggestion this week will be to turn this into a picnic blanket and create food to go with it for a picnic. Now you might also want to get creative, and you can glue down some more paper strips if you want to. I'm gonna make my picnic blanket have a nice red stripe on the end. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue a couple of my paper strips down. And then I will start thinking about the food I might want to take on my picnic with my picnic blanket. I started thinking about some of the foods I might want to take on a picnic, and I drew those out using my markers, but you could use anything you have. So now I'm going to finish up my fantastic picnic blanket by cutting out my picnic items and adding them to my picnic blanket.